instruments, like, for example, the 1734 Murillo Velarde Spanish map, the Treaty of Paris in 1898, the Treaty of Washington in 1900, the covenant between the United States and the Great Britain in 1930. And of course, the UNCLOS in 1982, and the latest, of course, is the arbitral award by the PCA issued on July 12, 2016. So makita natin na talagang legally and historically atin ang West Philippine Sea. We have sovereignty over the islands and rocks, as well as sovereign rights over the sea and low tide elevation within our EEZ. Of course, we also have the support of the international community, unlike the Tendas line, which has no legal and historical basis. So ito talaga ang tunay na katang-isip. The administration of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in our country will always seek to uphold peace, stability, security, and rule of law to ensure a free and Indo-Pacific region. We are also guided with ASEAN centrality and processes. The stability is built and sustained through sincere dialogue and active participation with our neighboring states, with the support of our allies and like-minded countries, guided by international law and rule-based international order. In fact, there are 43 countries who are supporting the arbitral award, and 26 of them have openly expressed support and even condemning the acts, the illegal and aggressive acts of the PRC. And in all the forum, conferences, summit that we are joining and participating, we make sure that the arbitral award is always part of the agenda. But unfortunately, tensions remain in some contested areas, particularly in Ayungin Shoal, which is considered a low tide elevation within our EEZ, where we maintain PRP Sierra Madre as an outpost. Lately, it was the scene of numerous incidents and skirmishes brought about by illegal, aggressive, coercive, and deceptive actions by another government, well, particularly the PRC or China, in utter disregard of the law. In fact, yung pinakahuli natin insidente dito ay ang June 17 incident wherein illegal excessive use of force were applied and resulted to the injury of one of our sailors or China, the loss of his tongue. Disregard. Where we stand our ground. In fact, yung pinakahuli natin incident what is ours ay ang June 17 escalation incident choose wherein illegal excessive use of force of the situation were applied and our soldiers to the injury of disciplined sailors or China, the loss of his disregard. Where we stand our ground. In fact, yung pinakahuli natin incident what is ours ay ang June 17 escalation incident choose wherein illegal excessive use of force were applied with our soldiers to the injury of disciplined sailors or China, the loss of disregard. Where we stand our ground. In fact, yung pinakahuli natin what is ours ay ang June 17 escalation incident. Therefore, our illegal excessive use of force were applied with our soldiers to the injury of disciplined sailors or China, the loss of disregard. Where we stand our ground. In fact, yung pinakahuli natin what is ours ay ang June 17 last July 2 has already yielded positive results in terms of reducing the tension in Ayungin Shoal. Only in Ayungin Shoal. Because ang dalawang party ay nag-agree na pababain o pahupain natin ang tension dito. Well, it is our right to resupply our troops in BRP Sierra Madre, and we will always do that as guided by our President. At in our discussion and dialogue with the PRC, we would like to assure our people that our national interests shall remain paramount and our national security will never be prejudiced. Our sovereignty and sovereign rights will never be compromised. Nakalatag din yung ating mga patakaran at hakbangin upang mapagtibay natin ang pag-aari sa West Philippine Sea. Ito ay ang right mix combination ng ating legal, diplomatic, information, socio-economic, and military law enforcement efforts. True peace, however, cannot be built out of weakness or might. Lasting peace and stability are forged where there is respect for the sovereign equality of all nations and there is adherence to rule-based international order. The West Philippine Sea is ours, and the fishes, marine, aquatic, and all the rich natural resources belong to the Filipino people. Ang West Philippine Sea, atin ito.
Thank you, Secretary Año. And President Marcos also mentioned, no guerrilla fronts remain active across the country today. Only 7 weakened groups remain to be dismantled, and they are the subject of focused operations. But along with the assertion of government might, we also offer peace, development interventions, and reintegration programs for those who have returned to the fold of the law. Lieutenant General Gerlan, aside from fighting rebels, we know that the AFP is also very much involved in many development activities in the countryside. Could you please tell us about the AFP's efforts to win the peace and promote development in conflict-affected areas?
Yes, the Armed Forces of the Philippines has been pursuing the campaign plan of the Armed Forces, which is to defeat the enemies of the conduct civil military operations and other operations to support this. In fact, we are even very involved in the peace efforts of the government. That's why the AFP has been pursuing the full surrender of the former rebels. And since 2022 up to the present, we have already 6,921 former rebels of the CPP-NPA, and also 578 former violent terrorists who have also surrendered, and they are given livelihood, and they're being integrated into the community through all the efforts of our units in the fields. Also, aside from the peace efforts, we have also the amnesty program where the AFP also is very active. That's why now we already have 578 personalities who have applied for the amnesty program. The AFP always will pursue the path to peace. That's why we always asking those remaining rebels to surrender peacefully so that we can ensure their peaceful integration back into the communities.
Thank you, General Gerlan. Let us now move to the next statement during the President's SONA. We have noted an overall decrease in crime rate and an improvement in crime solution efficiency, but this is not enough. Our law enforcers need to earn the trust of our people. Police Lieutenant General John Michael Dubria, what are the PNP's efforts in ridding its ranks of police personnel involved in illegal drugs?
Okay. Good afternoon. Wala ang video, wala tayong video. Yes, good afternoon. Ma'am, the Philippine National Police is intensifying its internal cleansing program regarding our personnel involved in illegal drugs or any irregularity, not only in illegal drugs. We do not tolerate these personnel who are involved in any criminal activities and we charge them appropriately, either administratively or criminally.
Thank you. Let us now discuss this quote by the President. Our police, military, and Coast Guard undergo continuous capacity building and asset upgrading so that they are better able to preserve the peace and defend our territory. Kindly expound on this. This is for Commandant Gavan.
Yeah, I'd like to start from the whole statement, the context of the message of the President itself, which in gist have defined the three elements that makes the Coast Guard as it is today. He made mention about the need for us to have the baselines law, the maritime zones law, and the archipelagic sea lanes law. He also made mention that the way for us is to solve the issue in the West Philippine Sea, but we will not yield. That defines what are the needs of the Coast Guard in capacitating itself in order to pursue that careful balance between the two requirements. We will not yield, but at the same time, we must be able to pursue peaceful resolution of the issue. So the Philippine Coast Guard has since embarked on massive training of its people on the law of the sea. For most, we have to know the law to be able to pursue rules-based approach. We have also pursued better discipline system in the Coast Guard to make sure that everybody adheres to the rule of law and the way we do things at sea. Alam niyo po, mahirap mag-enforce sa isang environment na inaalon ka at hinaharas ka ng iyong mga katunggali. So we really need to have the Coast Guard have that very defined sense of discipline. We have also defined how we have to organize ourselves. So in the past several months, when the President has assumed a control of the country as the Commander-in-Chief, we developed task forces to make sure that our command and control system is better aligned with the guidance of the President. So far, the three elements have been met. It is now very clear to us where we should operate. It is now very clear to us what we should do. And it is now very clear for us what we should achieve. So the SONA of the President is really very material for us.
Thank you, Commandant Gavan. Let's move on to PAGCOR. Of course, we have to talk about this quote because the President was met with a standing ovation in this part. Effective today, all POGOs are banned. I hereby instruct PAGCOR to wind down and cease the operations of POGOs by the end of the year. For Chairman Al Tenco, how can the PAGCOR collaborate with law enforcement agencies to run after illegal POGOs?
Well, good afternoon, Daphne. Actually, even prior to the announcement of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in the last SONA, PAGCOR, in coordination with the DILG, the PAOK-TF, the NBI, the Bureau of Immigration, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Labor and Employment have already started working together to run after all these illegal POGO operators. I just want to make this clear. Prior to my assumption as chairman and CEO of PAGCOR, the previous board of PAGCOR had authorized and issued a total of 298 licenses. And when I assumed office and seeing that more than majority of these companies were not involved in any gaming operations, but rather were involved in criminal activities such as scamming, credit card fraud, you had investment frauds, you had love match fraud. We then decided that it was time for us to move in and purge the licensees who were violating all the rules, regulations, and guidelines that have been issued by PAGCOR. In fact, first thing that we did after finding out that most of these licensees were not following any of the guidelines and rules of PAGCOR was to immediately declare them all in as being classified as probationary in status. And from 298, we were able to bring the number down to about 75. And the 75 already included the service provider, well, the licensees, which now total about 44. Of the 44, 3 are currently suspended. And then we have support services or support or service providers that are close to about 19. And we have this new classification of 14 SBPOs. So what I just want to emphasize is that prior to the announcement, there were already efforts being made by all these government agencies that are involved in the said operations. And because of the President's instruction to PAGCOR last Monday in the SONA, we again have we are all making sure that starting this coming week, we will be meeting again to discuss what we will have to do to be able to wind down the operations of all these companies. And I just want to emphasize that we, yesterday, we were already cooperating and meeting with the congressional leaders because there is also a congressional act that has to be made. And I'm scheduled to meet the Department of Labor and Employment next week in my discussions with Secretary Beniling Guesma, primarily because there will be about 40,000 Filipino workers that will be affected by this said closure by the end of the year. And the DILG, who is present today, we are going to continue our town hall meetings with the different local government units. In fact, last Saturday, we were in Region 3 in Clark to talk to the local government officials of Regions 1, 2, and 3. And then Saturday afternoon, we were in Camp Crame and we met the LGU officials of Metro Manila and that of Region 4 and Region 4A. So this will be a collaboration of all the other government agencies that are needed or that need to cooperate with PAGCOR so that we be successful in implementing the order of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Thank you, Chairman Bangko. President Marcos also said that in Marawi, the rehabilitation and rebuilding continue under the supervision now of the Office of the President. Our focus remains on restoring energy, water, and livable communities. This is for the Office of the Presidential Advisor for Marawi Rehabilitation, or OPAM-R, Secretary Nasser Pangandaman. Could you please expound more about the projects on rehabilitating and rebuilding Marawi?
Yes, Madam. Yes, first and foremost, magandang hapon po, Daphne, at sa ating mga kababayan. Diyan po, kami po ay natutuwa at nagpapasalamat sa ating mahal na Pangulo nabanggit po sa kanyang SONA ang tuloy-tuloy po na rehabilitasyon, rebuilding ng Marawi City. Just a short background on this, ito po ang rehabilitation ng Marawi City ay nag-umpisa 2017. Pagkatapos po ng Marawi
Sorry,
City.
Secretary Pangandaman,
At
let's...
ito po ay pinangunahan noon ng urban development. Ito po ay ang pamalaan ng rehabilitation. So, ganun po yung pag-umpisa po ng rehabilitation ng Marawi City. At tayo po ay nagpapasalamat sa ating mga Pangulo dahil nag-issue po siya ng administrative order 14 na nililipat po niya ang rehabilitation ng Marawi City directly under the supervision ng Office of the President. And therefore, ito po ay sinusupervise po ng aking tanggapan at nakita po namin na meron po tatlong, among others po, meron po tayo nakitang tatlong critical issues na dapat pong i-address. Ito po ay tungkol po sa energy, kung papapailaw po sa Marawi City. Pangalawa, yung tubig. At pangatlo po yung housing issue sa Marawi City. So yan po yung tatlong direktiba ng ating mahal na Pangulo natin pong tinututukan ngayon para po ma-rehabilitate po natin ang ating Marawi City. Nais ko pong bagitin dito sana, alam po niyo noong 2017, ang isa sa mga naunang national leaders po na pumunta sa Marawi City ay ating mahal na Pangulo. Siya po ay patatapos lang po ng eleksyon noon nung siya po ay tumakbong Vice President. At noong 2017 po, nagkakaroon pa lang po ng clearing operations doon sa Marawi City. Siya po ay bumisita doon at nakita po niya yung extent ng devastation doon po sa city. That's why siya po ay gusto po niyang tutukan ito. Kaya po linipat po niya ang supervision ng rehabilitation, rebuilding ng Marawi City under direct supervision of the Office of the President.
Thank you, Secretary Pangandaman. Of course, that was your update about the rehabilitation and rebuilding of Marawi, focused on restoring energy, water, and livable communities. Thank you, Secretary. And now, President Marcos Jr. also emphasized our police, military, and Coast Guard undergo continuous capacity building and asset upgrading so that they are better able to preserve the peace and defend our territory sa ating buong sandatahang lakas sa Coast Guard at sa ating mga mangingisda sa West Philippine Sea. Tanggapin niyo ang taus-pusong pagsasalamat ng buong bansa dahil sa inyong ginagawang pagmatyag at sakripisyo. That was a beautiful statement by the president that really, I think, touched a lot of people. And he said it a lot better than I read it, but it was beautiful. This is for DOTR Secretary Jaime Bautista. Does the DOTR have initiatives to spread consciousness and knowledge on the West Philippine Sea to our people, especially the youth?
Thank you, Daphne, for that question. No? You know, the DOTR and the Philippine Coast Guard have initiatives to inform the youth of the many issues regarding the West Philippine Sea. No? Commodore Admiral Gaban can even expound on this. They have projects that involve even health consciousness. They have projects, they even have this comics project of information. No? And I'd like Admiral Gaban to please expound on this. No?
Thank you, Secretary, sir. Yes, the Philippine Coast Guard has embarked in several programs, including, number one, we have this focused social media campaign. We reach out the youth because we know that they are into social media more than us, the older generation. So we also embark on what we call the comics initiative. We have this, ang mga kwento ni Teacher June. This will be distributed to the schools. So we believe that we should start them young. Dapat alam ng mga kabataan kung ano ang West Philippine Sea, bata pa lang siya. We are also thinking about developing a coloring book for the preschoolers. So that early, dapat alam na nila kung ano yung West Philippine Sea. As you know, we are only as good as the support of the people that we receive. We have also embarked, alam po natin lahat siguro to, yung takbo para sa West Philippine Sea. So all the runners are into it, but in doing so, they are also made aware that they have to do their share in defending the West Philippine Sea.
Thank you for that update, Commandant Gavan and Secretary Bautista. I'm going to look at that later. It looks very good. A nice book for young people. Let's move on now to some questions from the media. I will call on GMA 7's JP Soriano.
Thanks, Daphne. Good afternoon, secretaries and sirs. My question is for you, Charles, and to NSA Anyo. While the Philippines is trying to navigate a peaceful resolution in the West Philippine Sea, specifically in the Ayungin Shoal, does the agreement with China stipulate that the Philippines agrees to any provisions regarding site verification and restrictions on bringing in construction materials at the BRP Sierra Madre? Would you be able to provide some clarity on this, Secretary Anyo and Yusek Jose?
May I answer the question?
Please repeat your question.
Oh, okay. Sir,
No.
this-
Answer the question.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, first of all, this is not an agreement, but this is what we call an understanding, an exchange of notes, where there is a common accepted parameter for both sides. And we agreed, both sides agreed that detention will be reduced in Ayungin Shoal to prevent skirmishes, to prevent anything that may lead to injury or harm to our soldiers or to anyone. So there was a sort of comment or publication or statement from the Chinese side about telling certain provisions. Well, I'm telling you that that is not accurate. That is really false because there's no such kind of on-site inspection. What the two sides agreed are really a common understanding that the RORE shall proceed with instruction from the Chinese side. This is to ensure that there will be no untoward incident. And basically, the principles are generic. No? But on disclosing the content of the common understanding, it has to be agreed upon by the sides from the government and from the PRC. What I understand is it should not be issued in public unless there is consent from both sides. But one thing that I can say, there is no prejudice or compromise in our sovereignty and our sovereign rights claim. Our national interests are never compromised. And we did not agree on anything that would undermine our position in the West Philippine Sea. But as a peace-loving nation that adheres to the rule of law, it is but proper to support this particular initiative of coming up with this common understanding to just reduce the tension in Ayungin Shoal. In the coming days, we will see the result of this very positive development, and hopefully this will become a regular activity of resupplying our troops in BRP Sierra Madre, and it is our right to resupply our troops in BRP Sierra Madre, who our soldiers are valiantly defending and ensuring that our position in the West Philippine Sea remain fixed and unassailable.
Thank you, NSA Anyo, for explaining the contents of the diplomatic note. May I just briefly shift to another topic? This question is addressed to Chairman Tenko. Following the President Marcos's order to ban POGOs, Senator Risa Ontiveros wants clarification on whether IGLs, which are reportedly or allegedly being used to rebrand POGOs, will also be shut down. What's your take on this, sir? Should IGLs be included when President Marcos's directive to be shut down within a year? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Well, the instruction of President Marcos is very clear. PAGCOR has been instructed to wind down the operations of all. Very clear po yun. And I just want to clarify that the difference between the POGO is the POGOs were the companies that we purged. I mentioned earlier we had 298 when I assumed office. Today, we have, including service providers and this new classification of SBPOs, we only have close to about 70. So what really happened is when we purged the list of licensees, it was very unfortunate that those that did not have any license or legal capacity or legal authority to do business anymore still continued to do so. And that is the cause of all this bad publicity that the country is getting today. No, I think that should be made clear. Now, IGLs were those that were reissued or where their licenses were renewed. So it was not, IGLs are not there because they were just merely rebranded. Of the 298, they were the deserving, legitimate companies who were never involved in any criminal activity. Unfortunately, because of the order of the President, even those companies, many of whom are owned by foreign investors, are affected by this order. So, I was in Congress yesterday in a hearing, the Committee of Games and the Committee of Public Order. I made it clear, and today, this afternoon, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. The instruction of President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. is very clear. PAGCOR, you are instructed to wind down the operations of all. First of all, I cannot wind down the operations of those who are operating illegally because they're not in my jurisdiction anymore. So, very clear po yun. So, I do not know where this news is coming from. There is confusion, and I thank you for giving me an opportunity this afternoon to clarify the matter. There is also one, I'll take advantage of this. There is a report coming from Maki Pulido. I think she's part of GMA 7 group that I read and that's going around. That I, as chairman of PAGCOR, am going to lobby for the retention of 12 POGOs. I just want to make a categorical denial about this. When I was asked, I don't even know if it was Maki who asked, but as I was entering the halls of Congress yesterday, I was asked what will happen to the 40,000 workers who will be affected. I said, unfortunately, they will have to go. But I said there's one segment now that we license, and I'm referring to the special BPOs. And these special BPOs that PAGCOR license are BPO companies that are just like the BPO companies that are giving employment to maybe 2 million Filipinos today. And they are not involved in any gaming activity. Hindi po sila tumatanggap ng taya. They are not involved in any betting activity. So, I just thought, close to 10,000 workers are in that segment. We call it the special BPO. So, I was just thinking maybe it wouldn't be bad if I appeal that maybe these 12 can be considered as legal and will not be closed. Because they are not. They are basically doing customer service work for companies that are based in the United States, Canada, Australia, and Europe. So, I just want to make that clear because there were news reports in media today that I was going to request or I was going to lobby for these 12 companies. Actually, it should be 14 companies. So, gusto lang po nang liwanagin yon. Pero, other than that, if even for these 12 or 14, the instruction will be to already wind down, I had made my position very clear. This was even weeks before or prior to SONA. I will follow and execute any instruction that will be given me by the President of the Republic of the Philippines. And last Monday, the instruction was very clear. I'm telling everyone this afternoon, I will follow and execute his instructions.
Okay.
Also, ang instruction po niya, maliwanag naman, up to December 31, 2024. So, there are also news reports going around that the Bureau of Immigration, I don't know how true, I intend to get in touch with Commissioner Norman Tansico because nakalagay po sa news reports, binibigyan na lang daw ng Bureau of Immigration ng 59 days from today ang lahat ng foreign workers. I would like to clarify this matter. Again, I'm not sure if the news going around is true. But I just want maybe to clarify this matter in a discussion with Commissioner Tansinko and tell him the instruction of the President is to give them up, give these companies up to December 31, 2024.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, JP Soriano, and thank you, Chairman Tenko. Thank you for all of that clarification. Okay, we have more questions. This is for the DILG. What are the marching orders of Secretary Abalos to the PNP following PBBM's pronouncement on his bloodless anti-illegal drug campaign, if there are any?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned before, the marching order of Secretary Benher is one that is focused on the dignity of human life. We have our Buhay Ingatan Droga Ayawan program. And one component of that, which I'd like to highlight, is our revitalized Pulis sa Barangay program. That is where in a problem barangay, the DILG will, or rather the PNP, with the help of DILG, will embed a contingent of police inside that barangay. They'll rent a house in that barangay and then they'll live there, they'll sleep there, they'll eat there. They'll become one with the community. And in doing so, the community will feel greater trust in the police, will be able to report more freely. They will be able to root out crime within that particular area. So that's one example of how, under the guidance of President Bongbong Marcos and Secretary Benher, the DILG and the PNP are trying to create a police force that is more responsive and community-centered. We've experienced before, of course, there's a mistrust by certain sectors in society of the police, and we want to break down that mistrust and create greater community engagement. Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you. Justice. Going back to our criminal justice system, President Marcos was all praises for the country's criminal justice system reforms. Do you see the need to do more to further improve the system, and what are your plans for the next succeeding years?
Yes, we do, Daphne. In fact, the issuance of and signing of the DOJ NPS rules on criminal in preliminary investigation and inquest proceedings is just the first step. The next step would be a greater, greater plan or greater vision, which is to actually rationalize and put in order the practice of law in the Department of Justice. And that case build-up rule, which incidentally already resulted to a 93% conviction rate with respect to case build-up cases that were decided by the courts. And on the flip side of that, which is also a good development, 26% of the cases filed were referred back to the law enforcement agencies or to the complainants for the submission of additional pieces of evidence, because in the minds of the assisting prosecutor, the cases are not ready for filing. This development cuts across through all the 5 pillars of the criminal justice system. It lessens the number of cases handled by the law enforcement, and it lowers the docket of the prosecutors and the courts. It also eventually leads to lesser number of persons to be detained. And finally, it would lead to a better and more peaceful community in our midst. But the approach is really to do all of these things, all the areas of law enforcement, Bucor, PPA, the Pardons and Probation Administration, BI, LRA. There are certain efforts that are being undertaken to weed out elements that are not performing, or we feel that they are not at all doing their job. And one of the important things, which is also related to the digitization of the processes in the Department of Justice under the National Justice Information System, is to of LRA, the records of BI, the records of NBI, and all of the attached agencies. That means that we would be able to then weed out the uh, continuing problems relating to double titling that are also a source of violence and killings in our country.
Thank you, Undersecretary. We have a question for the DFA. President Marcos mentioned in his SONA that the Philippines will continue to assert its sovereign rights over the West Philippine Sea. He particularly mentioned about diplomatic channels and mechanisms under rules-based orders. Ano po ba ang mga status ng mga protest ng Pilipinas against China as far as the West Philippine Sea is concerned?
Well, I don't have the exact number of the diplomatic protests that we have filed, but I would like to emphasize that it's very important to file this notes verbal addressed to the well, here the DFA, we address them to the Chinese embassy in Manila, because if we fail to do that, silence means we acquiesce to what China is doing. Although some quarters might say that these dramatic protests are pointless, but I would disagree to that. It's very important that we do whatever we can in order to register our objection to what the Chinese are doing in the West Philippine Sea. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is for the DND. Narinig natin ang mga pronouncement ng Pangulo sa kanyang SONA
Ang tungkol sa West Philippine Sea. Inaasahan ba nating magbabago
ang approach ng Pilipinas sa issue na ito, or kung mapapanatili natin ang anuman ang nasimulan na ng administrasyon?
The efforts to manage the West Philippine Sea as stated by the DFA are undertaken by them. And it is in accordance with international rules-based order. It is clear that the President has manifested his intention that the tensions be managed and de-escalated without compromising our position. At klaro po sa ating lahat ito. Para po sa Departamento at Kagawaran ng Tanggulang Pambansa, we are clear that we have to support and preserve the territorial integrity and sovereignty, including the sovereign rights of our country. In order for the rules-based international order to survive, we must have a credible deterrent to protect and defend our sovereignty, sovereign rights, and territorial integrity. At ang Kagawaran ng Tanggulang Pambansa will remain focused on our programs to preserve the territorial integrity, which, as I stated a while ago, is the implementation of our CADC, yung ating pong modernization program, and the defense transformation. The diplomatic channels will be very, very innovative, as I believe the DFA will exert all efforts to resolve the tensions diplomatically. But one thing is clear, it should be in accordance with the rules-based order, and yun pong kailangan ma-preserve natin ang ating territorial integrity, ang ating sovereignty, at ating sovereign rights. Maraming po salamat.
Thank you, Undersecretary De Leon. This is a question for the National Security Advisor. Ano ang mga marching order ni President Marcos for the ONSA?
Well, first of all, ang ating mandato ay to ensure that all national security interests are protected, and it should be always across all agencies, including LGUs and including concerned citizens. So meaning to say, we have to protect our interests and national security. Now on the West Philippine Sea, as I have said, it should always be the right mix combination of different instrument of national power. We should apply both diplomatic and legal, information and transparency, socio-economic so that we can develop our economic resiliency, and also maritime, military, military and law enforcement so that we will protect our fishermen. We will guard our sovereignty and sovereign rights to prevent any illegal activities by any claimant within the West Philippine Sea. So tuloy-tuloy tayo dito. And all other aspect of national security. Well, to include energy security, food and water security, climate change. So lahat ito ay pinag-uutos ng ating Pangulo to make sure that our Filipinos will enjoy the life where we are practicing freedom, democracy, and our way of life is assured and protected.
Thank you, Secretary Anyo. Peace, freedom, and democracy, we're certainly in good hands with you. Thank you. We have a question here. This is for the PNP, the AFP, and the Philippine Coast Guard. Let's go back to what the President said and when he praised law enforcers for improvements in the crime solution and efficiency. But he said that that is not enough. The President also stressed that you have to continue to earn the trust and confidence of the Filipino. How do you respond to this? Let's start with Philippine Coast Guard.
Well, recent surveys would say that the Filipinos believe that we are doing the right things right.
I think it is 8 in every 10 Filipinos believe that we are doing what we should be doing. But to further sustain and enhance that, we intend to further capacitate our people to be more adherent to rules and the procedures that we have to observe while we are doing our things at sea. We are pursuing measured transparency in certain times or full transparency as the situation requires so, because the people deserves to know what we are doing. Because through that, we also believe that they can be the fiscalizers to remind us whether or not we are doing the right thing. Law enforcement is enforcing the rules defined by the people. So it also requires us to inform them how well we have enforced the law. It takes two to tango, they say.
$1,666 incidents or 6.88% compared to the past period wherein 213,250 incidents or crime incidents transpired. We also registered 12.54% decrease in focus crimes. Focus crimes po natin mamaya